the Kawhi Leonard saga has pretty much dominated the offseason of late, the biggest storyline in really several years in the NBA. I would say that we have some excellent reporting from Pablo Torre on the Pablo Torre Finds Out podcast that just continues to dive deeper and deeper into the paper trail of what seems to be some cap circumnavigation from the Los Angeles Clippers to pay Kawhi Leonard under the table through this aspiration saga. You, Sam, have been pretty defensive of Steve Ballmer and the Clippers of this. Has your opinion changed on this since more information has come out?
A little bit. It wasn't that I was like it wasn't I was saying that Steve Ballmer and defending Steve Ballmer like he wasn't aware of any of it. I was skeptical of the potential punishment because of you need more than circumstantial evidence, and I don't think the NBA would want to punish. Like ideally, they don't want to punish anybody, and they just want to move on from this because it's obviously a black hole on the league. I mean, Pablo Torre has done an incredible job just investigating, digging into this, relentless with it, continuing to find new information. But he's saying this like
and how he drops it too.
Absolutely, and he's a brilliant guy, obviously. But I also am not gonna, like Pablo Torre was saying, this is like the biggest moment of Adam Silver's commissioner tenure. This is would be such an awful moment for the league if they let Steve Ballmer get away with it. There are potential consequences if you do let Steve Ballmer get away with it for what you now allow, for how other teams would potentially circumvent the cap and find creative ways to do that, which is a competitive issue that's not okay. It's not good. But that's a little too far to say this is like the biggest moment of Adam Silver's career. I'm still skeptical of the potential punishment. There's no doubt in my mind that people at the highest level of the Clippers organization were very aware of what was going on, whether they were directly involved, whether Steve Ballmer was in the meetings, whether there's a paper trail actually connecting him necessarily. I don't know still. I don't think that's necessarily come out as good as the reporting has been. But there's no question the people at the highest level of the organization were aware of it, which is a problem. Yeah. And they knew what it was accomplishing to circumvent the cap. There's no question Uncle Dennis, Kawhi's main rep, was asking for things that are just incredibly impermissible in the NBA. I mean, this guy was asking for ownership stakes in franchises. Players are not allowed to own, active players are not allowed to own ownership stakes in franchise. Like, what world are you living in? What Looney Tunes world is this where you even think that's allowed, where you would make that request? So he's asked for some crazy stuff, and it makes sense that the Clippers, logically and rationally, it makes sense that the Clippers would accommodate some of it to end up landing Kawhi Leonard. So I'm no doubt that all this has happened and the Clippers are aware. The punishment is where I'm still a little hesitant to what it will be, because what does it even look like? What's the evidence? What's the level of evidence? What's the burden of proof that the league has to find for them to actually drop the hammer and have a huge punishment? That's where I'm a little unsure of where this all settles.
Yeah, and that's been the most difficult question I've had to answer too, is like, how do you punish this? For a guy like Steve Ballmer, who has all the money in the world, that a fine's not really going to do anything. For a team that doesn't even really have draft capital, that have made a ton of trades, nor have they drafted well in the past couple of years, that's not really the direction. Like, so how do you go about it? I do just want to bring up your overall point. Like, I'm in agreement with Pablo that I do think this is the biggest deal that Adam Silver's had to deal with. I think this threatens the integrity of the entire NBA. That if you have the salary cap is in place for a reason, that if you have teams that are like just ignoring that, as what seems to be the case with the Clippers, and I'm in full position right now that like they just were fully aware of doing this. This was planned. This was intentional. This was direct cap circumnavigation. I think it's circumvention, but I like circumnavigation better there. I'm going to keep using that. If that's the case, and all signs point to that being the case to me, there has to be a punishment here that other teams are going to do this. And you don't want an arms race from NBA ownership where it's just who has the deepest pockets has the best team. We see that in professional soccer. We see that in baseball where teams like the Mets and Dodgers combine it. That is not what the NBA wants to turn over. It is a good thing that teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder can win the championship, which was the case last year. I bring this all up to say that I do think that this needs to be a bring the hammer type punishment. And the thing
What does that look like?
The thing that I came up with is I think it has to punish both the player and the team. I think Kawhi Leonard should be banned from the NBA. I think I'm completely serious right here. These are two repeat customers with this issue that Kawhi, there's reports.
Kawhi Leonard probably didn't even know about this.
But you're responsible for your career. I don't care that Uncle Dennis is the guy with the seat at the table. You're cognizant of the things that you're getting, of what is hitting your bank account there. He asked for it for the Raptors. He asked for it for the Lakers. And for the Clippers, they got in trouble for this before with DeAndre
It's way
Jordan.
more on the team, though, than it is the player. Way more on the team. You can ask for the moon. That doesn't mean the team can actually give it to you or should give it to you. It is way more on the team. Banning Kawhi Leonard from the NBA. Are we serious right now?
Both
for
need to be
for
punished.
Stuff the Clippers shouldn't have given him.
Forgetting this stuff.
But it's the Clippers who gave it to him. They're most responsible. They're the ones who handed him the keys to the castle, which they shouldn't have.
And you don't think they get punished by their best player not being allowed to play for them?
I think voiding Kawhi Leonard's contract is the best thing that could possibly happen to the Clippers.
I don't think you can do that, though, because then he's just going to sign with another team. He's going to ask for the moon and stars.
I know that's why I don't think it's going to happen, because I don't think it's going to happen because of what you're saying is that it actually benefits the Clippers. Like, the Clippers should want Kawhi Leonard's contract voided. It's just been a disaster. They need to cut ties at this point. But it's not really possible with the deal that he's on. So if they void the contract, that's actually benefiting the Clippers. That's not really a punishment. And you're right. We'll just sign with another team for sure, at a much lower cost, because he'll still be getting paid whatever he's getting paid from the Clippers. But so that's why it's really tough, because you can't really do that. Banning him from the NBA that's not even on the table for anybody. Whatever they discover, and that's just a ridiculous proposal. So that's not happening.
Why is that ridiculous, though?
Because it's more on the team than the player. Kawhi Leonard probably wasn't even aware. He
definitely was aware. He had to have been aware.
If you can get extra money from your employer and they're willing to do it, why would you not?
Because it's illegal money. That it's directly against NBA rules that he did not follow.
And who has to follow the NBA rules? The teams.
All
parties are responsible for following the NBA rules. It's them. It's on them. They're the ones who are navigating the cap and proposing ideas for how they're going to pay the pay structure and player options and all this stuff. It's the team.
I think it's both. Like, both parties need to be punished. Both parties are guilty, and both are repeat offenders of this. That both the Clippers as a team have been punished for this in the past. Kawhi has asked for this exact type of deal in the past, which is directly illegal. I think it's important to preserve the integrity of the salary cap. That if you want an even playing field, which the NBA should, and every decision has been based around this, this is a situation where you have to make an example of this. To me, this has to be a bring the hammer type punishment. That's the cleanest thing that I can come with that I do think makes up for all sides.
But it's got to be on the team, because when you're talking about the competitive nature of the league and keeping the competitiveness based on the bargaining negotiations and the salary cap and all that stuff, you want to make sure that teams don't do this again. So that punishment has to be on the Clippers and their team, to ensure that other teams would look around the league at that punishment and say, it's not worth it. Because if we get caught, that punishment is so drastic. That's not about Kawhi Leonard, though. That's about, you make that statement by punishing the team, so other teams look around and say, we don't want this.
So in this situation here, I'm saying Kawhi Leonard can never play basketball, but his salary cap is still on the books there. That would be my double-edged punishment here. That I do think Kawhi needs to individually pay a punishment for this. He cannot be hands wiped clean. You're right that the team gave it to him and the team did this, so they are at the more guilty party in this. But this has to be a two-sided punishment. This just can't be a thing where star players of Kawhi Leonard's level can just say, you know what, I want all these things that aren't allowed, and that becomes the norm. That has to be stopped. I think he needs to be punished too.
I'm not with you, because I don't even know if Kawhi Leonard fully knew what was going on.
But he had to. You can't.
Maybe a little bit, but he wasn't involved in negotiations. He's not really involved with that stuff. It's his team that does it. I'm sure he was probably aware. Kawhi is so I don't really care about that stuff. That's his team handling it for him. That's always been his personality around the NBA. So his team's been problematic for sure. I mean, go back to the Spurs days with the injury stuff and their own doctors they were bringing in, and lack of trust they had in the Spurs doctors, all this stuff. His team's been really problematic for sure. But that's a reflection on his team and the people he surrounds himself with, more than it is him.
It's still got to stick to him. Negligence is not a defense here, in my opinion. I don't care that you did not know or weren't directly involved. At the end of the day,
he didn't break any rules. The team broke the rules.
He did. He also they
Why
both
would you not ask your employer for the moon? And
because
it's
it's
their
illegal.
responsibility, and it's their responsibility to say, "Oh no, we can't do that, but we can give you this, or we can't do that." If they're saying yes to your crazy ass, that's on the team. If you're trying to get paid as an employee, you should be asking your employer for as much as possible, as much benefits, as much everything as possible. It's on the employer to say no.
Why I think this is unique in that is because this is not a situation where, Kawhi Leonard, like going back, hey, I want a raise. I want more of this. This was a dude who directly like picked his location based on the circumstances that he came with baggage to Los Angeles. He said, I want Paul George coming with me. I want all these, special treatment and all these factors, private jet, all these things that should not be allowed for star players and are literally illegal. This was the negotiation was the illegal act here. And I think like that's important in this context.
I think, I mean, can you admit that's not happening? There's 0% chance that that's happening.
I think probably not. I don't think it's zero. Like
there is no, I will never watch an NBA game again.
Get out of here. Yes, you will.
No, I mean, I will. I'm saying like as a bet, that would be such misery for me.
Okay.
That's such a big punishment for me that I would never watch an NBA game again if Kawhi Leonard is banned from the NBA. Like that, it's just, there's no chance it's happening.
I just think like that to me should be on the table. This is a unique situation. There is no precedent for how this should be treated. Like the Joe Smith thing, like that they literally had in writing basically that, which is insane. I think for the defense of Steve Ballmer in this, people are like looking as if there's going to be a slip that says like, I am going around the NBA salary cap here. You're not going to find that. I don't know how much more evidence you need to see than to just directly understand what is going on here.
Yeah, again though, but like that's the burden of proof is on the investigators.
This isn't a court of law though. Like this isn't the
but
NBA.
It should be treated like that. There should be a belief of innocence until proven guilty. It should be treated like they don't have to. Like Adam Silver doesn't have to treat like that. He's capable of dropping whatever punishments he wants based on his discretion. But in my opinion, I'm looking at it like the burden of proof is on them, that you should be looking at this like a court of law situation where you have to prove that this actually happened.
I think we got to use common sense. I'm more of a common sense guy here. Like there's just too much evidence.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that, but I'm saying for the extent of the punishment, like there has to be some hardcore evidence. There's no doubt in anybody's mind. Like the Tom Brady Deflategate thing. When you look at that situation, that ended with it was more likely than not. That was what the investigation ended. It was more likely than not, and that was just a baloney investigation. Who cares about?
This is a bigger deal. This is a bigger deal.
Yeah, of course. Who cares about footballs being deflated? Even though people at the time were acting like there was this massive competitive issue,
sure.
and the league was at risk because Tom Brady wanted his footballs a little more deflated. But the point is that it was found that it was more likely than not. The terminology for a case like this better be stronger than it's more likely than not that they circumvented the cap through this maneuver. It better be that there is undeniable proof and evidence if you're going to drop the hammer. And if they don't find that, if they find that it's more likely than not, then yeah, maybe duck them a few second-round picks, find Steve Ballmer, which will be pocket change for him. Maybe a first-round pick at absolute.
It has to be more. It has to be multiple
not if the investigation doesn't find concrete evidence that this 100% happened. And
what would that need to look like for you? What would change your opinion? What would the smoking gun in your mind be for this type of situation? Because I think I have mine. Like I think what I've seen is enough.
It would need to be something that really showed that Steve Ballmer was aware of what was going on. And a
signed letter from the Los Angeles Clippers organization and donation of $2 million on the same day that he's paid $1.75 million is not enough of a smoking gun for you.
Well, Mark, it wasn't the same day. It wasn't like 2 weeks prior.
Something that I think it was the same day. I'm pretty sure it was the same day.
Maybe it was, but Mark Cuban's defense of that. And look, I've been reading a lot what Mark Cuban's had to say in response.
By the way, I think Mark Cuban's guilty of this in the past as well. I'll throw that out there.
Why? Just because of how strongly he's defending it?
Take a look at those Dirk Nowitzki contracts in the twilight years of his career.
Well, why? What about them?
Just if you go down the years, like it's like 5 million, 4 million, 21 million, 9 million, 5 million. And there's all these articles about how much, Dirk is not, sacrificing for the team. I think Mark Cuban took care of his guy a little bit. I don't know that.
Okay, but again, everybody does this in the NBA.
Not to this level.
Okay, but you're blaming like Mark Cuban, like he did it. Like, yeah, everyone does this. Almost a lot, not almost all, but a lot of star players have sponsorship deals with main sponsors of the team. Like
Not
that's a thing that
$28
happens
million
all the
to
time.
do nothing. Not
Yes,
$28 million.
I agree. Kawhi's is certainly excessive, and that's where the red flag comes in. But teams do this all the time. So when you say Mark Cuban did it, teams do this. The teams, like, this is how they do, whether it's a handshake agreement or not. It's not like some unheard of thing for players to have sponsorship deals with other NBA teams. So I'm not like taking the defense of them and completely side with Mark Cuban, but to the point that you said earlier with the wire deposit around the same day, Mark Cuban's defense was that these are quarterly payments, so it's not like unheard of for that. For it's like, oh, right before he got his money, it's not unheard of for that to happen on a day where the wire transfer went through.
Except the coincidence there is that the quarterly payment was already late, and it took until a stimulus check, basically from the Los Angeles Clippers directly, eventually ended up in Kawhi Leonard's bank account. There, like, there's
okay, but again, a signed letter from the Clippers isn't like Steve Ballmer was spearheading this and he 100% knew about it. Like, Steve Ballmer probably wiped his hands clean by saying, "Do not involve me at all." Like, there's a million things that he signs all the time that he's not actually signing. People are doing for him. People are handling all his stuff. He's an insanely busy guy, and that's just part of being a billionaire of his magnitude, where you're not in the nooks and crooks of all these deals, which is how he was actually hoodwinked and bamboozled in the first place about this whole experiment with aspiration, and why he donated money to a fraudulent organization.
This is where I'm at is like, I'll put it this way. I don't mean any disrespect to Pablo Torre, but if Pablo can find all this and the NBA now has the leverage of, like, you have to defend yourself here. Like, you have to provide evidence of, like, at the minimum, you got to answer some questions here, buddy.
Yeah,
like,
but that's my problem with it. Of course, they're going to talk to him and everyone involved with the Clippers at the highest level and investigate it. He doesn't have to provide evidence. The burden of proof is on the league.
I disagree. I think we're past that.
Adam Silver said that at his press conference too. Like that.
Sure.
That's how any investigations will work, criminal or court of law or not.
But the common sense. I'm a common sense guy. Like, there's too much smoke.
I don't disagree. I'm not disagreeing. I'm only pushing back on the potential punishment. I don't think it should be drastic unless, like, common sense, rationally, of course, yeah, he probably did know. But you can't punish the guy, drop the hammer, unless there's real concrete evidence above circumstantial.
I think you can, and I think you have to. Like, I really do feel that, like, there is too much to this. This has to be a make an example type situation. And even if Steve Ballmer can find a way to completely wash his hands of this situation, whatever happens in the Clippers organization is still a reflection of Steve Ballmer, that he still bears the responsibility for what goes down within the walls of this organization, whether it was your chief of marketing that signed that letter, whether it was the minority owner who also donated $2 million, whether it was Ballmer directly here. This is not a court of law. This is the NBA's entire entity now, and they have to defend, like, the whole integrity of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it'll be interesting to monitor. I'm glad we're going to be talking about basketball moving forward, other than this, because it is a stain on the NBA, and the thing is, it will die down, and that's the thing, because the Clippers are hosting the All-Star game this year. No chance of coming out with a resolution before the first All-Star game and into it,
which is crazy, by the way. But you're right.
Arena. I mean, that's right. Business. That's business.
But I just, like, the entire NBA should feel dirty about this. The entire NBA should.
We'll see what they come up with.